Hello and welcome to this video. Today there's a new review on this channel, again for a LEGO train like the last review, namely for the LEGO Orient Express train with the set number 21344. It's released in the LEGO Ideas 18 Plus row. So LEGO Ideas is a program where fans can create models and then they are changed a bit from LEGO designers and then they are released as a proper set. It's priced less, like almost 300 bucks, both in euro and in US dollars. It has 2,540 parts. And maybe the most important or most interesting thing is that it's being discontinued this winter. So if you're interested in one, it might be a good idea to get one in the next few weeks, because afterwards it will probably only be available from resellers and that might increase the price. For the train in general, it has a length of over 1 meter and it's not prepared for motorization, at least not mainly. Most of this video, however, is a motorized version based on the instructions from Rebrickable. I changed a few other things, which I will talk about later. And at some points I will show the original version for comparison, and then there will be a note in the bottom left of the video where I write original, so that you can see if it's my modified version with motors or if it's the original version without motors. There were also 2 errors in this set, and now I can come to the things that come with it. There are 2 sticker sheets, one which doesn't reflect and one which reflects. And one of the 2 errors was that these printed things did not reflect, like they were only in yellow and not in reflective yellow. That was one error. And the other error was with the names which are printed on the cars, because for Munich there was like a U with 2 dots above it, and the 2 dots are missing, and Bucharest was also written incorrectly. I got the corrected version, so I didn't have any of the errors, but they were there at the beginning. There are also a few additional parts which are like replacement parts, or if you lose a part you can use one of these. There are quite a few small parts for that. And there are a few minifigures inside. So there's Royal with a brick-built handbag. Like, it consists of 2 parts, but it's not one pre-made part. There's maybe the other Royal for the as a companion. There's a writer or an author with a pen and a letter. There's a maybe station guy who can wear the bags. There's a waitress which has which uses this door piece as a towel, which is an interesting part to use. There's a cameraman or a movie maker with a brick-built camera. It also looks pretty good for a brick-built camera. So there are many things in the set which are brick-built. There's this conductor also. This one has a printed head, which I didn't see so far, so that's a pretty nice detail. And there's a coal shoving person, also for the locomotive. Then there's a car or like a transportation vehicle for the bags, which is also brick built. And there are chests. So there's this chest with a few treasures inside. This is a sticker, this is a print. and here are a few coins inside. There are also instructions included, but I usually don't use them. I usually build the sets with the digital instructions, which can be downloaded for free at the LEGO website. But let's get to the interesting stuff. The last car, also there's track included, which building it was very boring, pretty repetitive. I also didn't need it really because it only makes the set more expensive, and it's not even compatible with normal tracks because some connectors are missing. So this is the car. It also has many brick build details, and it also has many snot methods. So that's starts snot on top. For example, the top part can be lifted up. Here are the prints, and for the wrong print, here are the dots missing, and Bucharest is also written in another way. But yeah, these are snot builds. There are a few details on the roof. These windows are snot builds. Also, these things are prints. If you take a look at the outside, these are also all prints, but these two things are stickers, but they're also reflective. So maybe that's a bit, that makes it a bit more okay. Inside, I think there are only, or mainly stickers. This is a print, but like this mirror is a sticker. There's a mirror behind the bar, which is a sticker. And also there are more details or more decorations inside of this part where you can't look very good, and these are also stickers. There's this end, which is the end of a train. It has a fitting lamp, and the other end can be passed so that passengers can walk from the sleeping car, which is the other one, to the dining car, which is this one. And I like this car. There are many details, there's a bit of space so people can actually walk around. Maybe there could have been a bit more detail, but overall it's completely fine in my opinion. I don't need completely detailed things because that also can break the impression. Yeah, there are also many brick build parts, so these tables are brick build. This chair has a few brick build things. These I also didn't know that there are these half circles which have a stud on top. I don't think that I knew that part. There have been a few parts which I didn't really know, but I also don't build that many expensive Lego sets, so that might be the reason why I don't know them. Yeah, it's a pretty cool car, I think, and it's also great to have a few cars in the set because, like for example, in the Crocodile locomotive, there were no cars, and if you want to drive the train around, cars are more or less mandatory, and because it looks better. And it's more realistic. For the wheels, there are no boogie plates, which you usually have in trains, but instead there are these pieces. Maybe they're used to be able to add more details. Also, this is the build version which I used to include the magnets, because I wanted to attach the wagons to other locomotives, and I want to attach other wagons to the Orient Express locomotive, so I changed the original connection type, which is based on ball joints, with magnets. This is a small modification, so I added these see-through parts, which are not included in the original set, and I will probably replace them at one point with 1x1 black bricks, which I didn't have enough of separately, so I used these see-through parts. But other than that, this is more or less the original version of this boogie. And there's also this detail on the underside of the wagon. This is the first car. I think that it's built basically exactly the same from the outside, so there are no other details apart from the end of the train missing. But if you look inside, there are a few other details. Also, all of these things are in 8 wide, so usually Lego tracks are 6 wide. The rails from the track itself are on the first and on the 6th stud. The distance between both of the rails, of the middle parts of the rails, are 5 studs, but the overall track is 6 studs. And this is basically 2 studs wider, which is more realistic because like in original trains, the trains are also a bit wider than the track, but yeah, there are also more details. possible because of that. So if this was six wide, there would be 2 stars missing, and then there would be much less space for details. But the city trains are only 6 wide, so these cars might not match that good with city trains because they are a bit larger in all dimensions. Like they are wider, and because they're wider, they also have to scale in other directions. They're also very long compared to other cars, and also compared to the Locomotive, but we will come to that later. Yeah, this has a few other details inside. So these are also stickers. Here is a sticker inside on this thing. This is a print. This is also a sticker. And these are the sleeping cars. There's one luxury sleeping part with its own toilet and a seating possibility, like a typewriter, stuff to drink, a lamp, and also a double bed. On the other side, there's the wood class, which has 2 sleeping cells above each other, and also a lamp, which is brick-built. Yeah, I liked all of the details in the set, and the fact that many things are brick-built. Also, here are the decorative parts with stickers inside, which you can't see really well. And also here are these stickers, but the other parts are prints. Yeah, I think the bottom part is also the same as with the other car. And now we get to the Locomotive. And of course, if there are 2 cars which have the same length as the Locomotive, then most of the $300 from the price of the set go into the cars and not into the Locomotive. But this is Locomotive. Again, this is the modified version. These are 2 pieces which were only molded for the set. Also, these rods, I think, are only molded for the set. We have the large train wheel size, not the very large size which was used in the $500 Hogwarts Express, but the bigger type, which was also used for the Crocodile Locomotive and for the Hogwarts Express and for the Emerald Knight and so on. Overall, I like the look. I think that for the complete train, it's a bit short. Like this boiler might have been a bit smaller, but a bit longer. That would be more fitting for the cars, because at the moment the car is pretty much the same length as the Locomotive, which doesn't look that good. But I think it's okay. It might be better, but it's okay the way it is. There are also 2 stickers on this Locomotive. So this is a sticker, this is a sticker. These golden parts are printed. There are also a few interesting part uses. So here is a helicopter blade. And this is a phone, this is a telephone. These are nice details, but for the telephone, for example, it's also great to have it there, because then the cable for the lights, which are not included, but which I added, can be put behind the telephone things. Like, you have to fiddle a bit around to fit them there, but it's possible to put them there. There are also 3 colors of blue in the Locomotive, but luckily you only see one from the outside. Yeah, this set is not meant to be motorized, but somehow it is, because like this front part can move. So the Locomotive can drive around corners or around curved tracks. And also the tender has 3 axles, but the middle axle can move around. This is also for it to drive around curves. So it's kind of prepared to drive around curves, but there's no instructions to motorize it officially. And there are some on Bricklink, which I used more on that later. Yeah, but overall I like the amount of details. I think that this front part looks pretty interesting. There are also brick-built buffers. The cars usually also would have brick-built buffers, but I had to remove them for the magnets, but here I left them to save a few magnets. And this connection usually also has another piece, so people could walk above this. There would be plates above this, but it has problems in the curves, so I used a car-to-car coupling from the Locomotive to the tender. There are also a few details on the tender, so I think this is the storage for the water for the steam engine. There's a light in the back. There are steps to climb on this tender. There are a few cool details. It's also pretty big for a tender compared to other tenders, so it can fit a battery box or a powered up hub pretty easily. I think in general this looks great. Maybe not so great in comparison or with the cars together. I mean, it still looks great, but it would. But I think on its own it looks better than with the cars. Also here are many snot building techniques with stud snot on top. For example, like this boiler, both sides have snot techniques, and I also like how they hit this axle basically with this knot technique above that. So overall, I like this locomotive. It's not as detailed as the Lego idea, but I think that it doesn't harm it, because it still has some details and it's easy to build. I think the idea had a structure with different bars on the side, and these are usually a pain to build. And I prefer stable and good-looking and easy to build builds compared to unstable ones. This also is unstable enough, so if you touch the wrong part, like if you would drag it on this part, I can imagine that some stuff might break, but it's okay to handle. There are also details inside of this cabin, which can't really be seen with the cables, but I will show a video of the original version without the cables. But speaking of cables, we can come to the motorization. I mainly followed the instructions on Bricklink, and all of the parts that I needed were available on Lego Bricks and Pieces, so I only had to do one order. It also includes a power functions or powered up L motor, which gives a good amount of torque into the locomotive, and I always love it if the power comes from the locomotive itself and not from the tender with the train motor. Because with the L motor inside of the locomotive, you can get much more torque compared to a train motor in the tender. It's a bit slower, but that's completely fine for a steam locomotive in my opinion. The original version doesn't run that good, but in the Bricklink instructions there's a guide, or there's a video linked in the comments, which has a few other improvements. Basically, the L motor is like this in the locomotive, and then there's an axle going from here to this wheel, which is powered. And here are basically two tooth gears. This one is a bit low, so you have to put something between it to get higher. And I simply used a cable connector. I put a hole into it and then I cut it apart, and that works completely fine. So I had no gear slipping in this version. I can also show the bottom. So here you can see the gear that's driven. It's only one, but that seems to be enough. But I think that you could also include some gears here if you wanted to power all of the wheels. But still with that, it doesn't run that smoothly. So there are some, in a full rotation, the motor has some parts where it can rotate freely, but there's also a part where it has more torque because something is blocking it. So it's not really, the movement isn't very even when you move it. I also had the problem when batteries were a bit low, that the lights were like blinking with the movement of the motor, which isn't really what I would want to have on my layout. So I decided to, instead of use batteries in this powered up hub in this tender, I include a Keybrick 1 rechargeable battery, which outputs a constant voltage. That has the disadvantage that you can't see how full the battery is, but on the other side you have the full torque available as long as there's energy within the rechargeable battery. Yeah, that improved the problem. So then I had full power with the locomotive. It went much better. There might be still V-slip when it accelerates in a curve, but it works as good as it must with this rechargeable battery. With normal batteries, I would also use rechargeable ones if you don't have access to a Keybrick 1, but I think the Keybrick 1 is the perfect idea for this. Yeah. I also added the classic train magnets. I already talked about it with the cars. Not between the locomotive and the tender to save a few magnets because these are expensive, but at the end of the tender I use a magnet and also between the cars so that I can put the cars in front of other locomotives. For the lights, it's so great that it's just fitting. So maybe this is not the best part. That they go through the window. You might be able to remove some parts here and then move them behind this part. That might look slightly better, but I think overall I only had to change two parts here. I had to remove a 1x2 plate there, and then I could guide them through the site without many problems. And I think it looks pretty great, and I love to have my locos with lights. For the remote, I use remote control in the video. And if you use powered up L motor, like a Technic motor, the hub only can, or with the normal remote, you can only use full power or no power at all, and you don't have steps to accelerate and deaccelerate. For that, I used my own PyBrakes program, which I will link in the video description. So there I can press multiple times and then the train gets faster and faster. It also lights the light automatically. So if you want to remote control a train with a powered up L motor, I think it's constant that there's the light on port A, but you have to activate the light by removing 2 % signs or so. And then you can use the lights, otherwise they won't light, and the motor has to be on port B of the powered up. But then you can control the train with the powered up remote, even if it's not a compatible motor. So this was basically my motorization and review of this train. For the future, I might buy these parts printed so that they are not a bit, so that they look better, that they are even on the train. But maybe I won't do that. I will have to see in the future. And I will probably also motorize my other powered up trains or my other power functions Lego trains in the future with powered up. So I might do videos about that. So if you're interested in that, you can follow the channel to see how I motorize my Emerald Knight and so on with powered up. I will probably not motorize my monster train because that one uses a few features which are not that simple to do in powered up. But I think otherwise all of my trains will be motorized with powered up. For one reason, to be able to control them with Bluetooth, because at this big layout I had problems with the IR connection. And on the other side, that might make some automatization, which I want to do in the future better or more easily. But that's something for the distant future. I will see when I will be able to do that. So thanks for watching. I will do a bit of outro, like the intro for this video, so you can stay and watch the train driving around if you want. See you in the next video, and bye.